Geocachomaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to episode 260 of the GeoGearHeads. I'm Chris of the Northwest with our host, Daryl W4, and we are pleased to have Gary Slinker, G-Slink of Geocache Talk with us this evening.
Thanks for having me on tonight.
So, Gary, as we did a little bit in pre-show, I expected that since we are all males here on this podcast, that tomorrow we're actually going to go out and do some Christmas shopping. Or start our Christmas shopping.
Do we really need to start this early? I thought we'd just kind of wait a little bit.
You know, I like that idea. Yeah, we'll wait a little longer.
Okay.
Well, it's, 2016. Aren't we supposed to just get e-gift cards for everyone now?
Oh, I like that idea. Yeah, e-gift cards.
Yeah, we just do it, Christmas morning and send them off, and we're done.
Check your email. I didn't want to get there early.
Right.
I actually did donations to everyone I know in the Human Fund.
I was going to say the Human Fund, Money for People.
Yes, Money for People.
That is such a good program. So wait, you're sending out a card saying your money's going to someone else.
Right.
Okay.
In your name, though.
Everyone wants for Christmas. Your gifts are going to needier people.
More needy than you.
Well, let's get actually into the content because we got a ton of stuff for this randomized episode. And the first thing is a correction that came to us thanks to Shermanator 18.
The Department of Corrections, we can call her.
Yes, there we go. She's our
awesome.
Corrections department. And
corrections
she's going to be
officer.
Well, anyway, she actually had picked up the CacheBot, which was on our recommended buy list because of one feature, and that was push notifications for new caches. Well, unfortunately, right about the time she got it, they actually removed that feature.
Wow. Isn't that kind of the point of CacheBot was the push
that was like the point of CacheBot. There's like no other features that make that app stand out.
That's the whole point of CacheBot.
I'm sure someone's going to disagree with me and, oh yeah, there's these other features that are really good. So if that's the case, write in.
Yeah. Make sure you send an email to us about that because we need to know.
Yeah. But the only thing that I liked about that app was the push notifications. So agree. I'm removing it from the buy list. It's not one that you should get. And at this point, it's probably not worth even downloading it because there's nothing that makes it stand out anymore.
No. Wow.
Sell.
That's pretty rough.
It is. And I hate to be that rough, but unfortunately it's true.
Okay.
Especially with Cachely coming in, I think I haven't looked at the pricing recently on the premium CacheBot, and it's not really worth anything if you don't get the premium. Cachely, I think, does everything and more better than CacheBot does.
Daryl, I wish we had a show coming up where we could talk about Cachely and Cachely 2.0 that just came out.
I don't know when we're going to possibly do that because we've got a full schedule. So,
we're doing it soon.
Well, we should do it next week. Yeah,
that's good.
Yes.
We're keeping him busy. He's going to be on Geocache Talk like a week after that, so that's good.
And caching in the Northwest as well.
Sweet.
So,
overexposure.
Yeah, he's everywhere you want to be.
Well, hey, I'm just happy to see that we have some innovation happening in the app space.
Exactly.
With the apps starting to fall away. First Geosphere was the big one that fell away. Then we have CacheSense that's now dying out. And with no new API licenses being issued, we don't have much of a chance for new blood.
Yeah.
What is the best Android one?
CGO.
I was going to say most people it's the CGO,
Is there any other one worth mentioning?
GC Droid is pretty good, but that takes some serious learning, I think. It's kind of like looking for caches.
Mm-hmm.
They're very powerful apps, but they're not intuitive.
Okay.
So you have to spend some time.
Yeah, because I know you mentioned those before, but I always wondered if there was something new and fancy. But like you said, if they can't get into the API,
yeah, they can't get access to the API anymore because geocaching.com has closed down API access. That was supposed to have been a temporary measure, but I think it's been like 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, I remember Nick mentioning that he got in before.
He was like a week or something before they actually closed it.
Right, and he wasn't not really ready for the app, but he at least had access, so that was good for him.
Sure. Yeah, well, and that was the thing, is that in order to even really build your app, you had to get API access. So for a year or so after they closed down access, we were still seeing some new apps come out.
Right.
Not all of them being apps on the phone, but we also had some web apps and things like that. So it's not going to be anytime soon, but hopefully we can convince geocaching.com to open the API again. And I think that we still have the issues of not being up to date enough with some of the underlying code. That was why they supposedly closed down the API access to begin with.
Right.
Oh, it may never open up again. But that's not for us to decide. A few weeks ago, and in fact, an ongoing topic here on GeoGearHeads is radios. And we had L&N Railroad email us with the breakdown of family radio and GMRS channels. Now, they wrote in and said that channel 1 through 7 of GMRS or family radio, either one, but 8 through 14 are family radio only, and 15 through 22 are GMRS only channels. On the radios that do both the GMRS and the family radio, or FRS, the service you're actually using is determined by power. If you're using 5 watts or less, that qualifies as family radio service. If you're using more than that, that's GMRS. On some radios, there's a high and low power setting for channels 1 through 7 that allow for license-free operation on those channels if you use the low power setting. If someone doesn't want to get a license and wants to avoid accidentally operating outside the rules, they can stick to channels 8 through 14, which are family radio only. They go on to say that only one of the requirements of family radio service is that the radios must have a fixed antenna. It's getting hard to find radios that are now only family radio service. Most of the radios you see with FRS also include GMRS. And there are GMRS only radios available, as there are mobiles as well as handhelds. So thank you for that. We do appreciate that clarification. And yes, there is some licensing if you want to become GMRS radio operator, but it's really pretty easy.
Yeah, we've talked about that many times in the past shows, and I'm sure this is going to be a topic that continues, but we do want to try to get a ham show together. And I've been talking with a couple of people on and off, trying to get some background stuff set up. So hopefully we'll be able to do that before too long.
What if you got a ham from Switzerland? Would that be a Swiss ham?
Well, I was thinking of just going and getting a honey-baked ham.
Oh, I'm half-baked.
Yes, you are.
Right now or all the time?
Let's just get into the Jersey Eric email. Chris, you want to read that one?
I would love to. Thank you very much for including me.
No. I think after that last comment, we should block you from this call.
Oh. Yay! I get the day off.
Gary and I will wrap it up.
Sure.
Oh, Shermanator 18 says that she loves ham with green beans and mashed potatoes.
What about green eggs?
I don't think she likes the green eggs.
With a goat?
If she does, she doesn't say that she does.
Okay.
In a boat?
Oh, Shermanator, you're in trouble. Hey, we do love your emails, even if they come from Shermanator18. But this one we got from Jersey Eric. He says, do Garmin eTrexes, like the older eTrex 30 and 20, go into demo mode automatically when they cannot receive a satellite signal for a specific amount of time? If so, can demo mode be disabled? He goes on to say, I have an eTrex 30 and an eTrex 20, both with the latest Garmin updates. 2 days ago, I was deep inside an office building, reviewing the geocache merit badge with 8 Boy Scouts when I turned on both GPSRs to demonstrate marking a waypoint. Both GPSRs indicated no satellite signal. About 30 minutes later, we took both GPRs outside to have the scouts hide some temporary containers and mark their coordinates. We soon realized that we'd marked the coordinates, that the marked coordinates were approximately 4 miles away from where we were standing. That's quite a hike. They can also get their hiking badge along with that. If they,
that's a solid radius there for geocaching. 4 mile radius
within 4 miles.
The cache is somewhere in this 4 miles. So good luck.
And there's probably at least 2 caches within that 4 mile range.
Right.
Let's see. Let me get back to the email. He says, I then noticed that one GPSR was set to demo mode, which I then switched back to GPS plus GLONASS. And the other GPS was still set to GPS plus GLONASS, but acting like it was in demo mode. So I restarted each GPSR to resolve the issue.
All right, I did look into this issue, but before we get into that, Shermanator18, or our corrections officer, she shall now be known, said that the podcast is over, and Chris, you can now have your break.
Thank you. Wow. Some sort of other officer at this point.
She's going to take over your old position, I think.
She's the podcast police.
All right, so I did look into it from page 30 of the manual for the eTrex 20, 10, 20X, and 30X. It says you can go into the system setup GPS, and you have the option to set the GPS to normal, WAS, or demo mode. So, you have the options to change those in the settings, but it didn't really give us any real information about why it might not function. And then the other thing I found on Garmin's site was the GPS mode setting that has a little bit more information. And that one actually says that there's a normal, which is the GPS will acquire the satellite and, blah, 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 and what we're pretty much used to. The WAS, which enables the WAS or the EGNOS system, if those are available. There's also on some units the GPS plus GLONASS, which is what we probably all want to be using. Right. And if we want to use more power, you can also enable the WAS and the GPS plus GLONASS. But there's also a battery saver mode on some, which means it slows its update, so it polls less often. A GPS off, and a demo mode. So there's on certain models of Garmin's more options than what Jersey Eric was seeing. But again, nothing really good. And this is one of the problems we found recently with the Garmin site, is that there's just not much in the way of support.
Yeah, there really isn't. I've never seen a way to turn off demo mode.
Permanently turn it off, because
right.
You never.
No, well, even to go out of demo mode, and even when the GPS has switched off on me, on like the Colorado was notorious for doing that to me. I had to power cycle to get it back. So I think really the answer is it's not supposed to do that, but power cycling is the only way to get it back out of demo mode, or GPSR off. And GPS off is an option on some of the units that I've had. I haven't looked at the new Oregon that I have, the 750, but I believe I saw the GPS off on there.
That's really increases your geosense when you turn that off.
It does, but that's one of those features I really, really like to have, because if I'm working, like on loading a GPS at the office and poking around, making sure that I've got the, stuff in there, the GPS off really does help. Demo mode drives me insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's like half working, not even half working.
Well, and depending on the unit, and it's not the case, I think, on the newer units, but on the older units, like the Nuvies especially, demo mode, it would always move the location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's acting as if you're in transit.
Yeah, it's expecting that you're going to be in store doing, the display model. So static display in a store is very, very boring. Throw it into demo mode and have it pretend that it's moving so that you get to see what it's like when you're actually navigating.
Yeah, off makes sense now that you mentioned that when you want to do, like you said, downloads, you don't want it wasting battery power trying to find a satellite you're not interested in.
Right. Well, it should be actually pulling power from the computer that you're plugged into.
Hopefully, yeah.
That's not necessarily going to happen.
Right.
All right, Gary, you want to read the next email?
Yes. We got an email from Wanzong.
Sounds good to me.
I know this isn't geocaching related, but it is technical. And you guys are pretty much the most technical folks I know of. I agree with that.
He might be in trouble. But okay, go ahead.
No. Do you have a recommendation for a password safe? Currently, my passwords are stored in a few different places and are not organized well. We'd like to consolidate this into one location that we can both access. I've come up with the features I think would be most important for us. And he lists out a well-trusted safe, works well with Windows and iOS, cloud-based, so we can use one safe across all devices, track the user and password, security questions, URLs, multi-factor /step authentication, etc. Integration with website apps to automatically fill out user passwords. And says, I appreciate your advice on this. If you don't have a recommendation, perhaps you can point me to a good resource where I can do further research and comparisons. But we have some suggestions.
I would suggest a large metal safe with biometric access only. Retinal scan.
Right.
The two that I gave him were 1Password and LastPass. And those are like the two big guys that everyone seems to know. I've been using 1Password for so long that it's going to be really tough for me to move. But both of you guys are using LastPass, which I keep looking at and kind of drooling over because it is more of that cloud-based system.
It is cloud-based.
Yeah. I've been using LastPass about a year and love it. But I found this article. I put it in the show notes for us to take a look at. They also mentioned Dashlane and KeepPass, which I am even the disturbing name for some, right, Chris?
Yes, that's right.
If you don't do the correct
KeepPass. KeePass.
Yeah, it's KeepPass, which I think is not very good at all. Well, I don't know. Of course, I haven't used those, but this article talks about, and it kind of broke it down. Actually, I'm a little concerned about this breakdown because one of the things it mentioned was password capture, and it put an X by 1Password, but Daryl corrected the article and said that yes, it does do password capture in 1Password. KeepPass doesn't, as far as the article is concerned. I don't know. I really, it's one of the features I really like, is because I tend to forget that I probably need to get all my passwords in one location. So I like the fact that the software is going to remind me, hey, you're on a brand new site, you're going to put in a new password. Do you want us to keep this one for you? Oh yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah, or update it.
Right.
Which they also have the X by 1Password that it doesn't do that, but it does do both of those.
Good.
So I'm a little concerned. It also says that 1Password does not do two-factor authentication, and I thought it did.
Okay.
The big difference between LastPass and 1Password is in the way that they're doing the syncing, and that's not as much a difference as it used to be, because 1Password now has a completely cloud-based system like LastPass does. But what I like about 1Password over LastPass is your key file is actually local. So the way they had been doing the sync is through through Dropbox or through a couple of other services, but including iCloud, which I recommend no one use iCloud because iCloud sucks.
Right.
1Password syncs across Dropbox and makes it really nice and handy. The thing I like about that over LastPass is I have access to that even if I have no internet connection. So as long as it's done a sync recently, you have all of that information, including all that secure information. And more times than I can count, I've had to go and look up on like my tablet some information for like the loan officer or for my accountant while I'm at their shop without access to the internet. And it just is really nice to have that information right there offline. And that's one of the reasons why I have not made the move to LastPass.
Right. I did some other investigating as well, just to make sure they all are, well, the ones we're talking about, like Daryl said, the 1Password and LastPass, AES 256-bit encryption, salted hashing, SHA-256. So they both have basically the same, the latest, well, I think it's the latest and greatest, mostly the latest and greatest available to consumers.
You can have the latest or the greatest, but not both.
Right, can have both. Well, we have the consumer version, maybe not the military version of the encryptions, but so that they're, you know, essentially the two of them I think are very good choices. I've always had like we talked about that. You know, Chris and I use LastPass. Part of it's because of work. I think that's what was that for you too, Chris. That they've
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and again, 1Password does the same thing with the shared vaults and that kind of thing. So it really comes down to which you prefer, which one has the features you want and the model that you want to work from. One of the big issues with 1Password is you don't have any access from a Chromebook to 1Password. That to me is a big detriment because I do have a Chromebook. Yeah. So I have no way now of doing that. And at one point they did have an HTML5 version embedded in there. So if you logged into Dropbox, you could bookmark your vault and at least copy and paste. But you can't do that anymore. And even their subscription service doesn't have that. Now, I haven't seen anything that LastPass actually works on the Chromebooks, but I know it does at least work on Linux. So you're a little bit ahead there.
Now, price-wise, are you familiar with the prices for 1Password? I know LastPass is free to use on your desktop and mobile. Then they have a pretty reasonable premium model. It's about $12 a year. So that's not too bad. I don't know I can go look if you need me to, but I didn't know the cost for 1Password.
I'd used LastPass for well over a year before I purchased the professional version. And again, that was for work. But, you know, there's really no difference other than the shared folders.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the subscription service. There's work group and personal, I think is what they call it. Or no, I think it's family.
Yeah,
they
1Password.
Family. Right. And then you can also purchase. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you can also purchase the 1Password apps, which is what I'm on. You know, I haven't done the subs for it. So I have to, you know, upgrade every so often and pay for those upgrades, which is one of the nice things about the subscription service. And then it does the syncing.
Sure.
But it's a matter of what you want to do now. I would probably suggest anyone who's doing it now go for the subscription services.
And not the free one.
We have BMC then third. I'm not sure what that's actually supposed to spell out for, so I apologize. But it says if you can load any Android app onto a Chromebook, then you can use KeyPass. It syncs via Dropbox. And there are some Chromebooks that do work with Android apps. Unfortunately, my older one doesn't do that at all, and my newer one doesn't have Android support yet, but is scheduled to get it eventually. Oh, it's Yellow Jeeper Man. Hey, thanks. LastPassword just went free for mobile devices. That's also a great note. And one of the reasons why that's kind of the leading contender right now is because it's free for the mobile. You just have to buy the desktop, I think. But it doesn't even give you one free desktop app? Or am I mistaken?
LastPass, it's best if you have a browser extension.
Yeah. So let's move on to Missouri Baggins, or is it Mo Baggins? I thought it was Missouri, but in any case, he says, "Hey guys, wanted to share his newest with us, GC6R759. Hope you enjoy." And he claims that this is, well, the name of it is the DGS, the Dirtbags TV Safe House, but he claims that this is Missouri's largest geocache. And it's a large ammo can about the size of a garden shed, doorway in the front, and this is in his yard. So it is a very, very cool cache container. This is the advantage of putting a cache on private property, or well, at least one of.
Yeah, you can build it large enough to walk into.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you can keep an eye on it. You don't have to worry as much about people walking away.
It's nicely decorated, you know. I looked at the photo for that, and looks great. I mean, he did a great job of painting it up like an ammo can, and got little landscaping around it. Just very nice. You know, that's the kind of size geocache we're looking for. Is the kind you can walk into and then stroll, kind of shop through the swag instead of just reaching in with your hand. You can sort of walk around and, you know, kind of take a look at them all and make a decision from there.
And what do you do with that car door travel bug?
Right. That you get stuck with at the end of an event. Exactly. You're the last one. Dang it. How did I get this thing? Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, that is a nice one. And then, Gary, I think you found an article on iMore about touchscreen gloves.
Yes. Best touchscreen gloves for winter. And there's a good amount of, and I did a little additional research. Okay, there's probably maybe 250,000 different types of gloves that are out there. So make sure nobody says anything to you guys about, well, you forgot to mention this kind of glove. It's like there's more versions of gloves out there than there are hats. So,
well, and I will say that none of my gloves are in this article.
Oh, right, because they only mentioned 6. And now, interesting though, because they kind of went through and mentioned sort of almost picked one out of different categories. Because you have to make a decision, I guess, especially for you folks up north. Us down here in the South, we don't really concern ourselves too much, although Slinky Mama is always cold, so she always loves a set of gloves, and she's now more tech savvy than she used to be, so she wants it to be working on her phone, so without taking her glove off like the old days when you had to do that. But some of these gloves are more winterized, I guess, way to put it. But the Mujo double layered touchscreen gloves was one of them that they mentioned. These double layered gloves are Mujo's response to customers asking for something a bit thicker for colder climes. They added a layer of wool, and it has silicone grips all over the palms of the gloves. Make sure you don't drop your phone in the snow as you're trying to do the 150th geocache during geocaching. So they also mentioned that they made it so that you can use any fingertip, knuckle, I never tried to do a knuckle on my phone. I guess that would work, other than smashing the screen, I guess. But even the palm or heel of your hand, it's almost like you're wearing nothing at all. So that's Mujo. They mentioned A gloves. I thought this was funny reading this one. It says these acrylic gloves have 10-finger functionality, meaning you can use any finger to use your phone while keeping warm. But then they say down here a little bit, it says these gloves are these aren't the thickest gloves around. I don't know if that's really something you want to tell somebody, because isn't that the point of gloves, is to make sure they're thick enough to keep your hands warm? I mean, so
well, they might be thick enough to keep your hands warm, but not necessarily guard against like the wind.
Right. These may be more for us southern folks, because they're probably not really the ones for up north. Now, the next one, though, the North Face Thermo Ball E-Tip. That sounds more like what you need up in your neck of the woods, both Chris and Daryl. It says the note in here is, as a Canadian, I can attest to the North Face's quality. The Thermo Ball E-Tips are a little on the bulky side for touchscreen gloves, but you're in colder weather, so you want to make sure your hands are warm as you're out geocaching. So they come in men's and women's sizes and styles. Thermo Ball E-Tip. I sound like I'm doing a commercial. Okay.
It sounds like that.
And then
we haven't tried those.
Right. No. The next one, though, I like the name. It's Glovely. These are Glovely. They're classic touchscreen gloves. Glovely classic gloves let you use any part of your hand to control your phone. They're not for Arctic temperatures, so, buyer beware. They're warmer than most of the thinner touchscreen gloves, though. Susan has a pair that she uses, she likes, and I guarantee you they would not be good gloves if you get much further north of where we're at. But they do the trick for her, and she can use her phone, without any issues. So your screen gets smudged and dirty, you can use the built-in microfiber label to keep it clean. I didn't think about that. That's kind of a cool thing. They have a little built-in screen cleaner on the glove. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is pretty handy. I like that idea.
Because there's times when you're, either you get back in the car, you're going back and forth between the car and out of the car as you're geocaching, and it gets kind of either smudged or it gets moist, gets kind of a funk on the outside of it, and you can kind of clean that thing off other than using I usually just use the, side of my shirt or something.
Yeah, the shirt sleeve.
And then another one was Moshi Digits. Excellent touchscreen glove that do a great job of keeping your hands warm. They work very well when it comes to using your phone while wearing them. They feature a double layer of material. It helps keep your fingers warm, even when it's quite chilly outside. Each glove also features Moshi's grip track pattern on the palm, to help ensure you never drop your phone. So that's kind of cool. And then lastly, I thought this was neat. I never thought about this, but if you don't want to get new gloves, then just buy a product to redo, because we were talking about earlier or I mentioned earlier the North Face one. I read in one of the reviews that the material on the North Face gets kind of worn a little bit on the edges, and so it becomes basically gloves. You can't use them with your phone. But I think you could redo those tips with what's called nano tips. Don't feel like buying a brand new pair of gloves? Nano tips makes it so you don't have to. Just paint a coating onto the thumb and fingertips of your favorite gloves, and they become touchscreen gloves. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, we talked about that, I think almost a year ago, probably even more than that. No one that I know has ever tried it, but it's supposed to be really good. And I've heard, I haven't tried it, but I've heard that it does work pretty well and sticks for a couple of months without any problems.
Wow. Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth trying. But like I said, none of these are ones that I've ever tried. I've tried some of the North Face E-Tip stuff, not the thermal balls. Right. And I've never really been happy with the North Face stuff. I had for several years these outdoor research gloves. They weren't cheap, somewhere around $100. and it was all leather palms, and all of the leather had been treated with some kind of like metallic coating.
Right.
So, 2 or 3 years later, I still can use them. The problem is they're old enough now that the seams are starting to come off. It's like any breeze, I start to feel them.
Right.
But they were my daily gloves for like 3 winters in a row.
So yeah, you got some good use out of them then. Well, yeah, I remember you guys mentioned this. This has been a while since and I don't know if maybe the product, I mean, if somebody's used it, I'd like to hear about it. But it's kind of a cool idea. I mean, but other than the fact you might ruin the gloves you really like. I mean,
yeah, I would try it on something first.
Yes.
But I think all of these are an improvement over using the sausages that they tended to use in Germany for the first couple of years.
Right. There you go. Now, or you can do what a lot of people do. Dano's mentioned it before, and I think made the mistake of buying a GPSR that is touchscreen. Is he says, well, I don't use when I'm geocaching. I don't, because being up in Maine, he doesn't want to use a touchscreen while he's geocaching. So, other than your phone, which,
and this is really for the phone. And I still prefer the buttons for largely this issue.
Right.
But, if you're going to get a new Oregon with the Bluetooth and, all that syncing and everything, you have to deal with the touchscreen. And it isn't that older Oregon touchscreen, which was the resistive touch, so it won't work with the gloves.
Right.
But that was the thing I liked about the old touchscreens. The only thing that was good about those resistives is that you could use it with a glove. You could use it with the tip of a pen even if you wanted to, but you'd scratch it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Before the stylus became, a lot of people love the stylus. My wife always loved this little stylus for the phone, but now, you don't hardly use them anymore. Just screens are so much better, more responsive than they used to be. And so,
well, capacitive is a big reason for that. The capacitive technology goes so much beyond where the resistive could. But Wet Coaster says that he uses a stylus when he's in the cold weather, and that's always going to be a good solution because even with these gloves, the dexterity and the I shouldn't say the accuracy.
Yeah, you can't really get and whereas a stylus you can get very accurate. And stylus, like you said, you don't have to take your gloves off, and if you're out geocaching in the weather like that, you don't want to be constantly taking them off,
Right. Well, and there's some of the gloves that are a little bit better. A lot of it has to do with the fit of the glove. And one of the reasons I'm using the new gloves that I got, I can't remember the name of them, but I just got them a little while ago. And they were much cheaper than the Outdoor Research, and they're actually a little bit warmer, but they fit much better, so I have better accuracy with them. The trouble is these only have the first finger and thumb.
Right.
It's only the tips, so it drives me insane because I keep trying to use like my pinky or something to just dismiss a notification real quick.
Right. Not going to happen.
No. So it's been frustrating me. And Chris is dealing with Windows update issues, unfortunately. But he said that he's seen examples of tinfoil wrapped around the tip of a glove. No guarantees it won't scratch your screen. Yeah. Don't try that at home.
No, it doesn't sound like a good idea.
Well, unless you don't want your phone.
Yeah, if you don't,
or if you want to make a claim.
You might be using your friend's phone, and then you don't care.
Or your enemy's phone.
Right. What are you doing with your enemy's phone? I don't know that.
Sabotaging it, of course.
There you go.
You're putting fake geocaches on there so that they go into military zones and get arrested.
Yes, that'd be bad.
All right, let's move.
Crossing borders. Yeah, we've gotten. That's what we're doing.
Let's move on to GPS World's article about the Galileos declared their initial service.
Yes.
And as of December 15th, at a ceremony in Brussels titled, catch this is a really original, Galileo Goes Live.
Hey, this is like a scientist writing this, so this is This is as flourishy as they get.
This is pretty much rocket scientist, right?
Right. Well, it is.
This says the two high officials of the European Commission issued the Galileo Initial Services Declaration.
Boy,
this sounds like a political ceremony to me.
I'd like to read that whole thing that they wrote.
Yeah. But the Galileo satellites and the ground infrastructure are now operationally ready. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you can use it yet.
They're talking to each other.
It's up, it's functional. Yep. And the whole point of this stuff is it's going to be highly accurate, but right now it's not going to be available all the time. They don't have as many satellites up as they need to give you full coverage. So there's, like blackout times essentially.
Right.
So it's going to be a while before that happens. At the moment, it consists of 18 satellites. 2 of those, as we mentioned before, are not totally useful for positioning because they failed to achieve their expected altitude. So they're still functional. They still can help, but they're not doing as much as they should.
You think after the first one didn't make the orbit they were hoping for, that they'd like fix it the next time they launched the next one?
They were launched about the same time.
Oh, were they? Okay.
They were like a day or so between.
Oh, okay.
If that. Right. But they have 4 more expected to launch in November. And there's going to be, where does it? Oh, it doesn't say it. But they don't expect full operation in spring of 2017. Though they do expect to have the full operation in 2017. But full capacity is 30 satellites.
Wow.
24 plus 6 orbital spares.
Wow.
So they need to get another 6 just to hit that critical mass. And they only have 4 going up right now. And 2 of the ones that are up there aren't fully functional.
Yeah, they're only basically they've turned into just backups, I guess. They're not really backups. They're just sort of secondaries now, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we can even call them really secondaries, because they are, fully there and operational. They're just not as functional as expected. So they are going to give you the full information and everything, as I understand it, but they don't have the range of coverage.
Oh, sure.
So it's just they can't blanket the planet as well with their radio signals because they're too close.
And I had heard that if you're trying to like geocache in Norway, or somewhere either very northerly or very southerly in the world, that you may not get the accuracy that some of the rest of us might get in different latitudes.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about that, and I don't remember exactly how that works, but my recollection is the closer to the equator you get, the better the accuracy is. Further toward the poles, the less you can rely on that. But it was something obscenely high, I thought, before that started to really
become a problem. Mm-hmm.
Right. And when you're at the North or South Pole, it's still functional enough, but there are some issues because you are at the poles.
Right.
Now the next one was kind of an annoying one because we've all, I'm sure, heard about this by now, but talking about those Russian rockets that malfunctioned and caused problems for the Galileo system. Well, the Russians' resupply ship that was going to the ISS blew up on December 1st. Wow. Did you catch this one?
I did. I saw that, and I was thinking, I mean, amazing that they can just send a ship up without any kind of, like it's like autopilot kind of, but I did not hear though why this particular one. I know they've had issues. What was the reason why this one bit the dust?
They haven't, as far as I've seen, said why it went offline, but they lost contact and they confirmed later that it had been destroyed. They had a successful liftoff from Kazakhstan at 9:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 1st. And 6.5 minutes into the flight, they had an anomaly in the 3rd stage. So I'm wondering if the anomaly was actually blowing up.
Right. It's a big anomaly.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, that's three tons of food, fuel, and supplies. That's kind of needed, I guess, three tons?
Well, they said that this is not, they have backup emergency supplies. It's not going to be a problem, but they obviously need to get this stuff replaced. However, this was the last Russian supply flight. So the Russians are no longer flying supplies to the ISS. I think I misunderstood that. It looks like, I was just rereading this part of the article. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's the final flight of this year.
Oh, okay.
So Japan's JAXA is going to have a flight to the ISS on December 9th, which is already passed, but I didn't get an article about that one because it was probably uneventful.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything about anomalies. That. Hey, he's back.
Daryl, you were serious about having Gary replace me, weren't you?
Not as serious as Microsoft was.
Well, I was having some issues. I have Microsoft updates turned off. I mean, I have to go manually get them, but they were there waiting, and I couldn't restart quickly. Bill Gates said no.
Well, Bill hasn't been involved, but maybe it was Mr. Developers.
Developers.
Okay. Well, I think we've exhausted our time for this one.
Oh, I'm exhausted.
People's patience. Sherman 818 wants to know if we can get Bill on the show. I don't think she cares which Bill, just any Bill. So if we have any Bills who are listeners, let us know. Our corrections officer says we have to get a Bill on the show.
She doesn't like it when you say that. I've been threatened. I'm just saying she doesn't like it.
Ooh, do not threaten the cashier formerly known as the bad cop. Let's leave it at that. Before we go, though, Gary, tell us about the show that you do every week.
Yes, called Geocache Talk. GeocacheTalk.com. Weekly show on Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Central Time. And Daryl, you've been on a couple times, and Chris, you
I've done half a show.
You did half a show with me one time. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You want me to come on and do another half?
No, don't really want you anymore.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I'm not getting any love tonight.
You're more than Chris. You're more than welcome to come on and do half a show sometime.
Oh, I'm more than something.
No, yes, that's the show I'm on, and I always love being on with you guys. You guys have always my people I always wanted to emulate, so I'm following you guys' footsteps.
Well, we like it. Hey, I want to know, are you doing a show this Sunday since it's Christmas and all?
I'm doing a solo show.
How low?
Christmas evening show. So I'm going to do a solo talking about year in review and then looking ahead to 2017 and things that may be going on in 2017. So, and then I have on
going on in 2017. The world's just going to come to an end.
Let's hope not. I have shows planned. And then I do want to mention I am going to have, as talked to you guys beforehand, I am on New Year's night. Actually, I'm recording early, but it'll be out New Year's night. I don't know if you guys are y'all going to do shows on. Of course, you're on a Thursday, so you don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about it.
That'd be the 29th. Yeah,
not this year, so you're good.
Yeah, we've got another show planned this year.
That's good.
You've only we each, we got a show now. We got another show next week. You've only got one show left.
I do, and then I'm going to do one on. Actually, I'm doing a show early, so I actually have a show left, but nobody's going to hear it until January 1st evening.
Okay.
So, yep.
Well, and next wraps up our 5th year of podcasts, and we start our 6th year with 62 or 262. Somehow our numbering is off.
Why do you say that?
Because this marks 5 times 52 weeks.
Oh, is this the? No, this isn't the anniversary.
No, the anniversary. Somehow we're off by 2 weeks. So I'm thinking leap years affected that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you probably got an extra week in there. Yeah, an extra Thursday somewhere.
So yeah, it's kind of like this means something. Yeah. Hey, before we go,
I think I've been listening 4 years now. I went back. I need to go back and look at the very. I think I did that one time.
No, you don't. No, just go from here on out.
It's been that long.
Hey, we've got some good material in those earlier shows, but a lot of it has gotten to be kind of out of date.
And we've gotten so much better. Well,
I don't know about that.
Daryl, you didn't change.
Maybe. Team Average says we have an extra leap week.
There you go.
They happen in non-metric countries. But he did remind us, and I apologize, I forgot to put it into the show notes, but he emailed us about the Geocaching Australia Adventure Scavenger Hunt thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I will put the link in the show notes. I apologize that we didn't talk about it, but another cool thing happening. And we do have a bunch of stuff that we will be talking about in the patron show. So patrons, give us a couple of minutes to patronize you. Yeah, to reset after this, and we'll come back with another show, or just check it out on the podcast feed from Patreon. But we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, including the Pokemon Go app for the Apple Watch came out today. The one that they said wasn't coming out, it came out today, and I have tried it. I don't recommend it, but there's also something talking about those early shows. We had that battery show. Well, now we've got batteries that use diamonds to turn nuclear waste into batteries.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
I don't either.
I know. That sounds a little bit squirrely.
Yeah, no.
There's something not right there.
There's a lot that's not right. But we'll talk about that. We'll probably talk about the demise of Pebble too, because of the Apple Watch story and how sad Shermanator 18 is about that. So it's going to be a packed patron bonus show too, I'm sure. And we want to thank all of our patrons. And remember that it is coming up to the end of the month. So, next month, first of the year, you're going to be charged on those cards for your contributions. And we really appreciate all of you that have stuck around and continue to support the GeoGearHeads, because it really comes in handy just, keeping the show running.
Yeah, it really does. We appreciate it. I mean, there's a good amount of costs associated with podcasting, and let alone geocaching podcasting. We hope you're getting some benefit out of it. So thank you very much. Now, whether you're a patron or not, we got some great shows coming up. Just next week, who knew we were going to talk about Cachly and Cachly 2.0 with Nick of Cachly? I didn't know that. It just so happened that we scheduled it that way. No, we knew this. You knew this if you were listening. January 5th, the first show of the brand new year, we're doing live streaming with a geocaching vlogger and Memphis Mafia. January 12th, we're talking about cache loads with Ben of Geocaching HQ. January 19th, geocaching and education with Doc Firewoman. That's going to be a good one. January 26th, the Randomize 53, Randomize LII, with our corrections officer, Shermanator 18.
Check the Cashmaniacs website at cashmaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com or through the link on our website. Your support helps keep the Cashmaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cashmaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Huffenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2016 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.